Hello everybody, this is Scott. Thanks for checking out the channel again. Today's going to be a quick tutorial on some ways to make selections in Photoshop. All right, now the first thing I'm going to do is just start with this simple sock image here. I'm going to double click on this to make it a active layer here. Now I'm going to hit W and I'm going to bring up my magic wand tool and I'm just going to select this white area here. And as you can see, it's selected all the background of the sock. And then I'm just going to hit Control-Shift-I, which is to reverse the selection or invert the selection. Another way you can do that is just go select and where is it? Inverse. Control-Shift-I, just like that. So you selected the background, now we have the sock selected and we already have that selected. So I'm just gonna go ahead and hit this icon here for a mask. Let's make a new layer underneath it. I'm gonna control click this icon. That makes a new layer underneath it. I'm gonna hit Control Backspace to fill it in. And then we have a color in the background. We can see we have our sock selected. Now let's clean this up a bit. We got a little bit of stuff down here. I'm gonna hit the L key and I'm gonna bring up the Lasso tool. Lasso tool is one of the basic ways to make selections in Photoshop. Make sure we're back on the sock layer. I'm just gonna hold down and I'm just gonna trace this out. And I'm gonna hold Shift to add to the selection. Just like that. Oh. Control-Z that, and just get rid of some of this white frilliness here. Is this the best way to do this? No, probably not. But if you're just starting off, it's a good way to get started. And you can also hold L, not hold L. You can also hold Alt to take away from the selection, because I went in too far here. And I took it away. So hold Shift adds to the selection and hold Alt takes away from the selection. So you can just kind of finesse it in and out. Now I'm going to go over to the mask. I'm going to have that selected and I am going to hit Control Backspace. What does Control Backspace do? It fills it with that background color that you have here. Now I'm going to refine this just a little bit more. Fill that in again. And this right here, I realized I didn't actually need to select that. I got kind of fooled by the look of it. And there you go, you got a sock selected. Now what if your sock didn't look like this? Let's go back to the beginning. Double click again, get that out of the way. You notice you have this tolerance setting up here. What if you had that on 32, which is what I think it is normally by default. If you click in this white area, you see what it's doing here is it's selecting a little too much. You have to first Control-Shift-I, inverse the selection, so you're selecting the sock, and now hit the mask. Now Control-Click, new layer, fill with background clear. Ooh, you see here, it's selected a little too much. So that's something to keep in mind when you're using the magic wand. That's the kind of a flaw of this method, is that you have to be careful. That tolerance setting, by making it higher, it's kind of reading the white areas in here and it's kind of selecting too much of the sock. So by having it down like super low, reverse the selection, then we're getting a lot better of a selection. So that's something to keep in mind. All right, now with this one, I'm going to demonstrate something else. Now with this L key, again, L key, Lasso tool. There's another thing you can do with this. Now, if you click and hold, you'll see Polygonal Lasso tool and Magnetic Lasso tool. Now, real quick, the Magnetic Lasso tool, I've never used it since I was a Photoshop student in school, over 15 years ago. So yeah, I don't recommend doing this. I think this is kind of an outdated method. But you see the Polygonal Lasso tool in here, and what this does is it actually makes it so that you just click once, and then you get a hard line. Click again, and whoa. Hold spacebar, you can move the screen. Click here, click here, click here, and here, and here. This is a little bit funny. I'm just gonna skip that and go here, here, again, skip that, and here, and then here. Now the tricky thing is you have to like find the start point, and it because you see the circle icon there, I don't know if you can tell, you click on that, and then it completes the selection. Now again, I'm gonna hit the mask icon, put a layer below it, fill it with something. You might notice again, there's kind of a flaw with this method, is that it doesn't give you curves, it just gives you straight lines. Well, what if you want to use both at the same time? Now there's a better way to do it. Go to the Lasso tool. Now let's just undo all this. I'm gonna go into history and go back to the beginning. Now, if you hold the Alt key with the regular Lasso tool selected, you notice what it does? Tap, 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 tap. It behaves like a Polygonal Lasso tool, so you don't actually have to select the regular, you don't have to select the Polygonal Lasso tool ever. You can just select the regular Lasso tool and go like this, or you can hold Alt and then suddenly draw hard lines. And then just click down, still holding Alt, and click down, and it's regular Lasso tool. So you can get a combination of curved lines and hard straight lines. So for something like this, I'm gonna hold Alt, click, click, spacebar to move that over, click, 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 go up here. Now I need to curve this, so I'm gonna hold the stylus down to bring it back to the regular lasso. Now I'm lifting it up again, click, click, hold down the stylus, like you're drawing it, let it go, lift it again, click, and now I don't even have to click on there. I can just let go. And now it completes the selection. Hit that mask icon again to make that selection. Click on that new layer below it. Fill it with a color, and now you don't have that weirdness that we had before. But now I didn't get it perfectly, did I? So now, how can we clean this up? Here's another way you can make selections. You can paint directly into this mask with a black and white brush. Now just hit B key to bring up the brush tool, and I'm going to make the brush hard edged. Now, white makes a selection and black takes it away. So where we want the red to show through the layer below it, we're gonna put black in. Where we want this, this structure to show through, we're gonna put white into this area. So first I'm gonna take away, I'm gonna hit the X key, which if you don't know, the X key is moving the foreground and background color, it's changing them. And I'm going to reduce the size of my brush here using the bracket keys. And I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to bring my opacity all the way up. And I'm just going to paint. I'm just painting black into the mask. So that blue sky is disappearing. And getting rid of that. Now here, I actually want to do the opposite. I actually went too far and took away too much. So I'm going to hit X key, bring the white up, and then I'm just going to do this. And I went too far kind of on purpose there so I can see where the edge is. Hit X again, now I have black. And now I'm painting in. It looks like I'm painting with red, but actually all I'm doing is just taking away. And I'm just masking out from the image. Now again, it was a little too far here. I'm gonna pitch my colors. Now, if you want to do a hard line with the brush tool, you can hold shift. Like I'm just gonna tap here, and I'm gonna hold shift, and go all the way down here and tap again. If you hold shift, like I'll demonstrate here, it kind of does that. Control Z that out. And that's a quick and easy way to clean that up. I'm just going to finish this up a bit. This isn't perfect. I'm not too worried about it at this point. I just hope that you're learning it, that's all. And here, this wasn't perfect. I'm gonna go in, whoop, wrong color. And there we go. Now we have that good selection there. And voila. Now with this one here, I'm going to use the pen tool to make the selection. Now I'm going to do a separate video on the pen tool pretty soon in Illustrator. So for here, if you don't actually know how to use a pen tool, that's fine. I'm just going to demonstrate it. Now again, double click this layer. And now first thing to do is make sure the pen tool, which you can select with the P key or it's right here. Make sure it's set to path instead of shape. If it's set to shape, you're going to start actually drawing a color out. We don't want that. We just want to make a selection with it. So we're going to set it to path. And I'm just going to say, just start anywhere. Like usually you want to start at a hard point. So like right there. And I'm just going to click here, click and drag. Make that happen. Click and drag. Click and drag here. And you see you're controlling these handles. And I'm going to alt click here to chop that handle in half. As you can see, I'm giving myself a lot of curved lines to make the selection. And it gives you a lot of control as opposed to having to go in with the lasso tool. If drawing with that is kind of intimidating to you, that's perfectly understandable. Especially if you don't have a stylus. You're just using a mouse. When I'm drawing these points out, I'm just clicking and dragging and holding it down and then letting go. There, I just kind of tapped it because I just want it to be kind of a hard line. Here, I'm going to click and I'm going to drag. Then I'm going to alt click and chop half of it off. Here, click and drag. Click and drag. Click again here. And go all the way down here, tap. Click and drag. Tap. Oh, I don't like that. Click and drag a little. Alt click, chop that part off. And drag, like so. And in doing this, we're going to get a very good, clean selection all the way through. And not only that, I'll demonstrate later, but this is actually going to give you the highest quality selection. And what do I mean by that? Meaning you're not going to get a lot of chopped up frilly edges and aliased lines. And I'll show you what I mean when this is done. Oh, I didn't like that. It's a little off, click and drag. There. To there. Click there. Click here. Whoop, that didn't do good. Alt click that. Drag that out. Whoop. Alt click that one. Is that good? Yeah, it's good. Click that. Draw this here. Boom. And we're back to the beginning and we're done. Okay, so now I've drawn this whole path around this whole chair. And then I'm going to go into the paths panel here. And I'm going to right click where it says work path. And it makes that selection from the path. Go back over to layers, hit my layer mask, and boom, we got this whole selection. Control click the new layer button to bring a new layer below it. And I'm going to hit Control backspace to fill it with that red color again. And then you can see we have ourselves a nice selection. Okay, so now that I have this whole selection made, I want to zoom in. I want to show you something. Notice how this selection is kind of faded? That's actually a good thing. Like it's kind of fading. Like the selection is kind of soft. And that's one of the reasons why when you zoom out, it looks as nice as it does. Like if you go back here, when we weren't using the pen tool, this is a little bit more of a cruder method. You see how this is like kind of jaggy? Because when we were using things like the magic wand and we were using things like the lasso tool, like let's do that again here. You get a little bit more of a hard, like it's either it's selected or it's not. So it's a little imperfect. Whoop. But again, going back here, it fades kind of nicely. You're cutting through the pixels, if that makes any sense. The Photoshop, with this tool, it kind of intelligently knows what to do. And again, I didn't make the selection perfectly here. You can always go back in. That's still selected on the path. Go here. Click this here. Boom. Boom. As long as it's inside there. Work path, click on that. Go back to the mask, because the mask is already selected. Not the regular layer here, but just the mask on the layer. And I'm going to Alt-click, or excuse me, Control-click, to take away again, to add black, my background color. And you see I clean that up a bit. Here at this example, I want to talk about selecting by color range. Double click on the layer. Okay. Now I'm going to go select. Whoop. On the menu, select. Color range, ... If you see a ... it means it's going to bring up a dialog box like this. Now, I'm going to go under sample colors. I'm going to hit yellows. And it selected the yellows in the image. I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to go ahead and make my... click on the mask, make my selection, and whoa, you see there's an issue here. It only partially selected it. You're seeing this, like this checker pattern, which indicates that there's nothing there. You're seeing that, and if I click on here, fill it, you can see here it only partially selected that yellow. It only kind of selected it. So what do? Let's Control Z a few times here. Command Z if you're on a Mac. Now, let's go back in. Select, color range. Instead of just selecting the yellows here, I'm going to go sampled colors. That's another way you can do it, and you can literally just click there. And if you click on different spots, that might help you. If you click on here, it's just collecting the cyan color. That's another way you can do it. And here you've got this fuzziness. See, if I drag it all the way down, it's only selecting so much. If I bring it in, this white here is indicating what it's selecting. If I bring it up all the way, then suddenly I click OK. And I'm going to create a mask, new layer, fill layer, and we can see that we successfully created this nice selection of the yellow area. And now that wasn't exactly practical, was it? So let's how can we change that? Let's just go back into this layer. And let's hit Control J, which just creates a new layer via copy, is what it does. So I'm gonna go into this layer below it. I'm gonna click on the mask and I'm gonna drag it to the trash can. Delete. So now we just have on the layer on top, if I alt click to solo this, we just have this, but then we have the whole image below it. Let's just get rid of this thing here. We don't need that anymore. So I can take this top image, which is just the yellow that we selected, and I'm going to go image, adjustments, and hue saturation. Now we can just change that yellow to a different color. Like say we wanted that to be blue. There, it's blue. And now keep in mind, you'd also have to consider, like, you know, there was some reflected light here, so the original selection didn't get that. You'd want to go back in and make that again, but you see the point here. This is another way. If you have a very strong separation of colors in your image, you might be able to just select something that way. Other than that, thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful for you. If it was, let me know in the comments. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't. That would help out a small channel like mine. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.